early 20th century, Europe was a continent of empires, a complex web of power, ambition, and simmering tension.
Nationalism surged, and a frantic arms race saw armies swell to unprecedented size. Austria-Hungary, backed by Germany, issued an impossible ultimatum to Serbia, setting the stage for war.
The alliance system activated like a row of falling dominoes.
Germany's plan was to defeat France quickly, but their invasion of neutral Belgium brought Great Britain into the fight.
Many believed the war would be over by Christmas.
But the initial war of movement soon ground to a bloody halt.
At the First Battle of the Marne, the German advance was stopped, and both sides dug in for a new, terrible kind of warfare. A line of trenches soon stretched from the North Sea to the Swiss border. Life in the trenches was a nightmare of mud, disease, and constant fear. The trenches were a breeding ground for despair and disease. The common rat was a constant reminder of the squalor.
Between the lines lay no man's land, a killing field of wire and mud.
At battles like the Somme, men walked into a wall of steel,
Suffering one of the bloodiest days in the history of the British Army.
At Verdun, hundreds of thousands were sacrificed for mere yards of ground.
On the Eastern Front, the fighting was more mobile, but no less brutal.
Russia's massive army suffered terrible defeats, straining the nation to its breaking point.
In 1917, the strain of war ignited revolution. The conflict spread further as the Ottoman Empire joined the Central Powers.
An Allied campaign at Gallipoli, aimed at opening a sea route to Russia, ended in costly failure. Technology made the Great War deadlier than any conflict before it. The machine gun dominated the battlefield,
And heavy artillery could obliterate landscapes and men from miles away.
but perhaps the most terrifying new weapon was poison gas.
Put your masks on! The gas is coming through! Get down!
To break the deadlock, the British introduced the tank. While in the skies, airplanes evolved from reconnaissance tools to weapons of war.
Beneath the waves, German submarines, or U-boats, waged a ruthless campaign against Allied shipping.
Their unrestricted warfare targeted military and civilian vessels alike.
The impact was catastrophic. Within 18 minutes, the great liner would vanish beneath the waves. The sinking of ships with American passengers on board provoked outrage in the United States. The final straw was the intercepted Zimmermann telegram, revealing a German plot against America.
America brought fresh troops, vast resources, and a renewed sense of purpose to the exhausted Allies. On the home front, women entered the workforce in unprecedented numbers.
While civilians everywhere endured shortages, rationing, and hardship.
In 1918, with Russia out of the war, Germany launched a final, massive offensive, hoping
They gained ground initially, but their army was stretched to its limit.
Then, the Allies counterattacked, bolstered by hundreds of thousands of fresh American troops.
The German lines began to collapse.
As defeat loomed, internal unrest shattered Germany from within.
The German Kaiser abdicated, and a new government sought peace.
Austria-Hungary and the Ottoman Empire were also disintegrating. Finally, on the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month, 1918, an armistice was signed. The guns fell silent.
The Great War was over, but its cost was immense. Millions of soldiers and civilians were dead.
Economies were shattered, and an entire generation was scarred.
In 1919, the Treaty of Versailles officially ended the war, imposing harsh penalties on Germany.
It aimed to prevent future conflict, but instead, it sowed the seeds of future resentment.
Empires collapsed, and the map of Europe was changed forever. World War I reshaped the modern world, marking the violent opening chapter of a turbulent century.
Though it was called the war to end all wars, it failed to bring lasting peace. Yet the memory of its sacrifice endures.
Beneath the surface of a confident Europe, powerful forces were at play. Imperial ambitions clashed as nations competed for colonies and resources across the globe. This competition fueled an unprecedented military buildup.
For Britain, the sea was life itself, and the growing German fleet represented an existential threat.
Germany's infamous blank check emboldened Austria-Hungary to take a hard line against Serbia.
Au revoir! On revient bientôt!
Vive la France! Revenez sains et saufs!
The reality of war arrived with shocking brutality in neutral Belgium. Survival depended on discipline, routine, and the bonds forged in shared adversity.
Massive artillery bombardments, sometimes lasting for days, were used to soften up enemy defenses.
But often, these bombardments only served to churn the battlefield into an impassable quagmire.
The war was truly global, drawing in soldiers and resources from the vast colonial empires of the belligerents.
These new land ships were terrifying and psychologically devastating to enemy troops.
Pilots, or knights of the air, became celebrated heroes, though their life expectancy was brutally short.
Behind the lines, a different kind of war was waged, a war against death and disease. Naval blockades squeezed the home fronts, leading to severe shortages of food and essential goods.
The German stormtroopers were effective, but they could not be everywhere at once, and supplies could not keep up.
Allô enfants de la patrie, le jour de gloire est à relever. Contre nous de la tyrannie, l'étendard sanglant est levé.
The combined might of the Allied forces, now reinforced and re-equipped, proved unstoppable.
For the soldiers who had survived, The end brought not joy, but a profound, hollow relief. But the war's legacy would be carried by the millions who returned home wounded, in body and in spirit.
The leaders of the victorious nations gathered in Paris to forge a new world order. In Germany, the treaty was viewed as a national humiliation. New nations were born from the ashes of old empires. The League of Nations was created to prevent future wars, but it was fatally weakened from the start. For the lost generation that fought it, the war never truly ended. The helmet, the letter, the medal, fragments of lives shattered by the conflict, displayed here for us to remember.
It demonstrated how nationalism, imperialism, and unchecked militarism could drag the world into catastrophe.
The cost of this catastrophe is etched into the landscape of Europe. William Miller. One life among millions, yet a life nonetheless. He was only 19.
A generation of youth was consumed by the fires of industrial warfare.
And yet, the lessons of the Great War would soon be forgotten.
But the courage and suffering of those who lived through it continue to shape our understanding of conflict.
Humanity and the immense cost of peace.
The Great War was a clash of eras, where the cavalry charge met the machine gun and horse-drawn ambulances. The echoes of the Great War still resonate today.
Mr. Prime Minister, welcome. We are pleased with the progress today.
Thank you, Madam Prime Minister. The agreement benefits everyone involved.
A reminder that peace is not a guarantee, but a constant, fragile effort.
During the brief, unofficial Christmas truce of 1914, two soldiers shook hands in no man's land.
इसके पर्दा से जिन में फ्रिजिल सकी होते नतीजे थे जो में साथ से ये सराय